Hi everyone, your boy Nate back with an interview. We haven't done these in quite a while, but luckily we're able to be back here, and we are with one of Fresno's very own, born and raised here, creator, songwriter, producer, Evangel, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to do this interview.
Thank you, likewise. We'll just dive right in. So I did have the opportunity to read a good, I would say, colleague friend, Valley Echoes. I saw her interview with you, which gave me a lot of insight into kind of your background and a little bit about you. So I wanted to dive into that. I did read on there that your creative start was kind of during the MySpace, Tumblr times, which back then, I feel like I was on Zynga at some point. Mm-hmm. So it was all, we all had something,
We're all online, that's for sure.
How did that get you started, being that those platforms were kind of the beginner of social media? Like, what was the impact of that in your creative process?
Well, I would say to start, like many kids, maybe within the Central Valley, there wasn't a lot to do, especially when I was growing up, and I was chronically online.
Yeah.
I loved art, I loved fashion and music and culture, and Tumblr was one of those sites, as well as MySpace. Though there were slightly different years that I was really active on them, they both kind of shaped my personality, the type of stuff I wanted to share, and also influenced my style, my music taste, etc. And that was how I found a lot of my favorite bands to this day, as well as like some of my favorite styles and basically cultural schemes that I follow now as an adult.
Now, with that, being that we live in Fresno, it's kind of more conservative on an end as far as not only, I would say like clothing, appearances, but music. And you found that escape, I guess, through Tumblr and all of that. Were those, was that a resource for those type of outlets for you?
Definitely. I've made a lot of lifetime friends from Tumblr. That like-minded thinking and kind of feeling like an outcast growing up was one of the reasons why it brought me to being online, or an online kid, but also I was able to meet other people who also shared that same love for art and this style of music that just wasn't being played here, and I didn't know where these artists existed. So it did open a lot of doors and made me feel less alone.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the biggest things growing up with internet, is feeling less alone and finding like-minded people. Now, I did also read that was also kind of your first introduction to producing in a way. Was that just like you thought, hey, let me give it a shot and reach out?
Yeah, I really didn't know what producing would look like as a musician. Like, I played instruments and I also sang. I had no idea how creating music via software or with any type of new technology, I didn't know how any of that worked. And also being online helped me meet those people who knew this is how you get started, this is what you can use, and tutorials online, as well as friends who produce music themselves. Most of the artists I really like all learned from their friends. And like you said, community is one of those key aspects to learning effectively, not just kind of taking an info and forgetting all of it. Like, you actually could learn a lot from your peers. So my peers just happen to be all around the world. So that kind of sums it up.
Now, did working or producing on that end, did that give you any inspiration as far as the type of music you wanted to lean into? Or was that something that you early on knew, this is the type of music I want to make?
Well, actually, I had no exact concept of what kind of music I made. All I knew is that it would lean towards the darker, kind of more macabre style of music. And I knew it would probably be more heavily new wave, maybe a little more experimental, because that's the music I grew up with. My parents always loved different styles of music. So I knew no matter what I ended up making, it was going to be a little different, it was going to be a little dark. It was going to probably be very synth heavy, because I love strong melodic synth beats and synth pop, things like that. So it just kind of formed a life of its own through just sitting there and making something.
Now, when you initially began making that, because there was a gap in you coming to stage to us and you starting to create. In that time frame, were you also creating music for yourself or at all?
Honestly, it was a combo for myself and also just people listening online. I had no idea of how to perform live. I didn't even have it in my mind because I didn't think I could perform it live. Mostly because when I thought of live performance, I thought you need a whole band.
Yeah.
All instruments, all live instruments, and everything amplified to a certain degree. So all I knew was that kind of live performance. I had no idea of how to adopt it to the stage.
Yeah.
So when I made music, it was just hoping that somebody enjoyed it, listening in their car, maybe playing it somewhere. Kind of that phrase bedroom producer that we hear a lot. I was kind of okay with that because I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Simply put, that's it.
Now, when did that change? Because from reading, you first stepped on a stage in 2024, which isn't too far from now. What changed that was like, you know what, I feel like I can jump into that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It started with the local cover band that I was playing in, a reggae band called Chill X. They were all really cool people who made me more comfortable being on stage singing.
Yeah.
Granted, it was a much different style of music. That first gave me the confidence to be in front of people.
Yeah.
Because that alone is like a whole other thing, right?
Yeah.
And then where it really changed towards leaning into my solo music, it was a show in February of 2025 at Goldstein's.
Yes.
Caress, darkwave artists from LA, and Lovers Guilt, also from LA, were playing at Goldstein's, and I met Geneva and Alex from Disorder Presents, who host a ton of goth shows here now in the Central Valley.
Yeah.
And I told myself, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I saw them perform, and I said, I want to do that. I don't know how I'm going to, but I went up to both Geneva and Alex, and I said, hey, I make similar music. If you want to listen to it, here you go. And they were both super kind and open-minded to it. And before you knew it, they followed me. I think Alex checked out the song and was like, hey, there's a lineup coming in August. Might put you on the bill.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how that would look because, like I said, I did not know how to perform live.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of last-minute Googling, asking people, buying things I needed.
Yeah.
It was very, very stressful, but ended up being the kick I needed to really learn. Okay, this is how you do it.
It was rewarding in a way.
So that's the kind of the progression. That's how it got to this point.
Now, being that it sounds like you've encountered, and I feel like that's the wonderful thing about the community, is that once they hear something, they're like, we know, like, if we love it, everybody else is going to love it. And that was kind of the push that started that. Now, from 2024 was being your first show, and then you officially stepped into your first solo performance. Being that there was so much preparation, was there ever a point that you got to, like, man, I maybe am pushing a little too fast?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't even emphasize how terrified I was to play live. I felt immense imposter syndrome, a type of imposter syndrome I've never felt before.
Yeah.
Because the people on the bill were established, people who have been doing this a long time, who are really great and talented.
Yeah.
So my peer pressure, also the imposter syndrome, was just eating at me for months. And I just told myself, you're gonna feel that no matter what, so you might as well just fight it and keep going. And then at least you can say if it doesn't work out or you do a crap job on stage that you tried. And so that was what kind of kept me going in order to be able to do it.
Yeah. And just from seeing clips and like pictures from that, I feel like you have like this automatic stage presence that you don't look nervous or any of that. If you see her clips, you know what I'm talking about. You're just kind of in the zone when you're there. So I definitely want to say that. Now I did want to touch on, they turned the lights on? I don't know. So I went through and I was listening through your music and I saw the Mercy EP cover art. Could you tell me a little bit about that? I think it's what looks like a cactus, or?
Yeah, that cactus is actually one of my good friend's cactus in front of his house.
Oh, okay.
He is a very, very adamant plant lover, and he wouldn't call himself a botanist, but he is to me. And I thought it was so whimsical and strange. I got a picture of it, and then the other elements were just kind of pieces that were brought together that matched, I don't know, if you could call it almost like a desert gothscape or something.
Yes.
Very, very whimsical, very dreamlike, very ethereal visuals that we ended up putting together. But I really liked getting things from here, the valley, and like putting them on this, I don't know, this kind of background. A mural in a way.
Yeah.
So that is where those pieces come from.
You know, because I saw that, and I'm one of those people that when I listen to the music, I like to look at the cover
You were the
art.
first person to ask about that cover and that cactus, so thank you.
Of course.
I can shout my friend out.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because I saw that there was that, you had already prepared the second cover art, and I thought, I wonder what goes into kind of knowing this is my cover art, regardless of whatever those songs are.
Yeah. I see what you mean, and I think with visuals, I try to think as little as possible about them, which sounds kind of contradictory.
Yeah.
But I think that the best stuff comes from blending things together, almost kind of like collage art. That's what somebody else described as my artwork when they saw it. It's like, it looks like collage pieces,
Yes.
like when you're making a scrapbook or something, and maybe subconsciously it's like my little my personality coming to life on that page
cover.
or something.
Yeah.
On the cover.
Well, it definitely does, because I was reading also through, I saw the 4 songs on that Mercy EP. It was an Ode to Nothing, Lies, Mercy, and then Nightlife. And then when I dove into the Coagulate single, they were completely different from each other, but somewhat similar.
Yeah.
What would you say changed from the Mercy EP to then your single?
I would say the actual change was an inspiration I got from another friend who strictly does graphic art. She goes by Crypt Angel on all her handles, and that Coagulate artwork, I just like fell in love with the art, and she just posted it.
Yeah.
And I asked her, and of course received permission to use it for the EP, and like, honestly, the cover guided the songs, because Coagulate and Hail Mary, I find them to be a little more heavy on the electronic side,
Yes.
a little more intense, kind of almost like reminiscent of like Blade or something like that.
Yeah.
I was really feeling that energy from her artwork, so I wanted to write something that felt like that image. So if anything, her art is kind of what like inspired
it.
the 2 songs. So,
Which is awesome, because the Coagulate and I feel like they automatically draw you into something. I was listening to it, and I was listening to it with the intention of like actually analyzing it, and then I realized it put me into like a trance. I started thinking of like random stuff, like I was,
that
thinking
makes
of
me happy.
life. Yeah, so I was like, oh man, like I'm supposed to be listening to it with that purpose.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you want to draw people into, kind of like an experience in that way?
In a way, like I said before, I try as little as possible to think when I'm producing and creating. But what I've found is many people describe the listening experience as dreamy, putting you in a daze, making you daydream, making you think of something kind of otherworldly.
Yes.
I get that a lot, and I think it's really cool. It's a huge compliment to me, because I am a big daydreamer in general. I'm always somewhere else when I am at work, when I'm with people. Maybe that's where my songs take people, and maybe that's where it takes me as well. So if you get lost in my music, it's to me a huge compliment, because it means it's having an effect.
Yeah.
And I want people to feel emotion. I want people to feel encouraged to dance, but also just kind of embrace whatever they're hearing and feel good from listening to it. So it is really cool when people say that, and I like that it kind of varies from person to person.
Yeah.
But I myself feel a lot of emotion when I'm writing it and then listening to it after.
Now, when you're writing that, since you touched on emotion, is there a particular emotion that takes over when you're writing? I know that there are some people that like thrive on heartbreak and that kind of powers their music. Is there an emotion that I would say leads you when you're writing?
I would say it's a few different things. I'm really driven by personal experience, such is the case with most artists when they're writing a song. As far as a specific one, there aren't many specific experiences I think about, just more fleeting emotions that have passed through me, ways I've felt that I've had trouble explaining with words. That's usually kind of what guides the song. But of course, heartbreak, loss, grief is a huge theme in my music. It makes people feel less alone, and it also makes me feel better at, processing those hardships. So I write about life, hardship, grief, but also I like to write about power, like power as a woman, and kind of channeling the dark feminine energy into the songs. So it almost kind of feels like an alter ego in a way, because in my day-to-day I'm very timid, I'm very over apologetic, I'm very nervous. In the music it's like a different person is coming to life, a person that's more emboldened, strong, doesn't take no for an answer in terms of her art, and it's just very like powerful. So I think those are the guiding forces in my music overall.
Awesome. Now, touching on the empowerment and kind of like the genre as well as style, being that you're Armenian and Lebanese, how is that? Was that difficult to kind of embrace who you wanted to be as far as your style and your music?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that, whether I want to admit it or not, held me back for years, because as you put earlier, we come from a very conservative place. Yeah. Generally speaking, the Lebanese and Armenian community is very conservative, ultra conservative, if you will. And these types of if you want to put it, these types of arts or these creative outlets are not typically celebrated. If anything, they're somewhat shamed. Yeah. Or confusing just to people who aren't used to it or haven't been raised on that. And I think being rebellious in any way against like the traditional norms of these cultures, it can be very isolating. It could be also very depressing. And I know other cultures can relate to 100%. Speaking your mind, especially as a woman, being in your power, being unapologetic, it's not seen as a positive thing. It's usually seen as, who raised her, who does she think she is? So being able to represent those two things, being a woman, also Lebanese Armenian, it can be daunting, but I'm also I'm very proud of my culture as well. So it's kind of trying to reframe what it means to be that. Yeah. If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Especially because I feel like growing up here, it's easier to kind of just hide away than embrace, kind of who you want to be. Now, with that and having that be important to you, how have you been able to connect with other artists? I know there have been a lot of welcoming artists, but that specific scene, there aren't a lot of women artists doing it. Now, does that give you, when you see other artists that are women, is it easier to connect in a way and be like, we can kind of create that space for each other? Because I know that's something you want to do, is create a space for other women and how you connect.
Absolutely. I want to start with saying, like, anybody who comes to the events, who comes to the shows and gives that support is always I'm so appreciative for. Like, it's awesome to see. But like you said, seeing other women on stage, and also seeing them in the crowd too, supporting other women, that is a really, really profound thing. It's a profound, I'd say, element that is kind of changing more as time goes on, and I'm really thankful for it, because it's the same thing where, oftentimes when you look at bills that are up and coming, especially larger bills and more popular artists, there aren't a ton of women on them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see a lineup of 10 bands, no women, or whatnot. And I will qualify that saying that is changing. And I think it's amazing. So shout out to all the people who are active in that change, who want to see it, who are putting these people on. I think that is amazing. But in general, it is hard, kind of being, there being fewer of you. So as far as the artists that really inspired me to embrace myself and continue, of course, like I said, seeing Caress in February 2025 was one of the first dark wave shows I've been to, but also the first woman I've seen doing dark wave, and she's also half Armenian.
Yeah, okay.
So it was like a really cool moment. Like, wow, I finally feel seen in this day. Like, this is really great. And those little things kind of really help shift you and transform your thoughts on, oh, I guess I can do that.
Yeah.
You see it more and more, and then there have been a multitude of other women that I've seen, like DJs. There's so many great women DJs that I love so much, and they've been so kind to me and so loving to me. It's those things that really keep you going, and they know who they are. If I shouted them out, it would take like 20 years. But those types of people are the reason why I'm able to, like, honestly not give up.
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, it does help a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's important because you see kind of that impact, because that was February, you said, of 2025.
Yeah.
And then kind of immediate goes into August, right? Is that the following? So that is, crazy to see that impact kind of just in real time. Now, is there something that you wish you could go back and tell yourself now, hearing this, not only, I guess, prior to you starting, but prior to this, because it sounds like you went back to like when you were 19 doing music. Is there something you'd tell yourself going back and seeing yourself now as a 19?
Yes. I wish if I could go back and give myself a pep talk, it would be, stop being afraid. Fear guided really all of my mind and my decision making for most of my 20s in general, such as the case with a lot of people. But I just was not confident. I didn't believe in my work, and I let the fear of failure, making a fool out of myself, hearing no, I let those fears stop me for years. And if I could tell myself one thing, is embrace the no's, keep asking, don't apologize for asking, and keep showing your music. Don't be occupied with other people's opinions, which is a hard one.
It really is, yes.
I mean, validation is a normal thing to desire as an artist, as a person, but I let people's opinions and fears of what they might think basically stop me for a long time. So I would say, don't let that stop you. Translate the fear into something useful. Be scared and do it.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
That's the tip.
Be scared and do it, because you're going to be scared either way.
Definitely. I mean, even me, I think now, even jumping into stuff, I always get nervous, and I'm like, after I do it, I'm like, I should have just done it from the beginning.
And then you're proud of yourself, and then you have this great product, and you're like, what was I afraid of? Exactly.
And I think a majority of that, it's us getting into our head.
Yes.
Now, with looking forward to music, I saw that you're considering, if you haven't already, doing, I'm not from Lebanese, would that be Armenian, the language for your music? Or what would?
Are you asking if I've used it before?
Yes. Or have you used it, or do you plan on using?
That's a good question. Yes, I do, and I honestly don't know how yet. I don't know what that would look like, but I think using more of those instrumentals that are traditional Lebanese or Armenian, I'd like to incorporate that more into more music. So I hope to do that in the future. But as far as like speaking those languages and songs, that's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to somehow incorporate it into my music, but I never say never,
Yeah.
and that would be really cool still.
Yeah.
I think it would be really cool. So maybe.
Yeah, thought in there.
And no one has asked me that yet either, so I'm
Oh.
like, I haven't even thought about it.
You see, there we go. Another song idea come in. Now, is there anything we could look forward to as far as you working with an artist or new music coming out?
Yeah, so there are a few ongoing musical projects, collaborations that are in progress with some really great artists. I'm always pretty open to working with other people as well, so I can't say yet like what those would be, but there are some things in the works.
Nice.
I also am working on somewhat of a new EP that's going to be a little more post-punk
Okay.
in nature, kind of differing from the experimental electronic witch house sounds that I've put out. I'm gonna try to experiment with post-punk and see kind of where that goes, and I've been really enjoying it so far, so
Yeah.
that's kind of what you can look forward to and seeing where that goes. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, you did mention you performed Tuesday of
Wednesday.
Wednesday
Sorry, I
of this-
misspoke earlier. It was Wednesday actually.
Okay, and that was at the Summer Fox, is that correct?
In Tower District, yeah, on
Nice.
Van Ness, it was the Summer Fox.
Now, I did see the photos you shared, and I think that's where I was like referencing. I'm like, you look very confident. How was that performing? Now, getting to kind of just be in your space because you've kind of set the tone for yourself. How does it feel now? Just going, hey, I have a show on Wednesday. Come check it out.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking in a really cool way because I was first nervous about it being a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Naturally, that's a tough day for people to come out. Working, family stuff, busyness. Like coming out on a Wednesday for a show is tough. But I was really excited for it and actually felt no nerves versus prior shows, and I actually felt very comfortable. I've played at that venue a few times already, so I was familiar. And then I was opening for, two really great artists, Pink Stiletto and Vioflesh.
Yeah.
Both great, both super kind. And honestly, the energy of the whole evening was really positive, and we had a great night. Ton of people came out.
Yeah.
And for a Wednesday, on top of that, it really shows that the community shows up.
Yeah.
The community wants this, and they want this scene to thrive.
They really do.
Knowing that they showed up on like the toughest day of the week to dance to goth music.
Yeah.
Here in Fresno, it's really something to see, and so that night was honestly great. It was perfect.
And it looked like it. Looking at that night, I saw videos of the fans, and you could just see they were kind of like in their zone, dancing, vibing out. I was sitting there, and I was like, man, this was today. Like,
Yeah,
I was like,
Wednesday? Like what?
but like you mentioned, there's so much stuff going on in Fresno that I feel like it gives room for so many artists
It does,
to kind of have their impact. Now, for us here in Fresno, just to, I guess, bring it back home a little bit, could you tell us what is your favorite thing about Fresno or living here? Because you are born and raised here.
That's true. And as I've thought about it more and more, I think what I appreciate most about Fresno is it's really one of the few big cities that feels small and big at the same time. Mm-hmm. It really is something for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think additionally, people here really ride hard for their community and each other because you have to.
Yeah.
I see that kinship and that sense of belonging, and people taking pride in being from here and bringing, I don't want to say the big city life
Yeah.
or big city art, but bringing that to Fresno. And I think there's a humility and a deeper maybe sense of self that you see here in Fresno, and that is what I appreciate. And also, I think that the majority of people I meet here and have grown up with here have always been just humble, just chill,
Yeah.
humble and kind. And I think that it goes back to just the humility of having to find those places where you're understood. And
Yeah.
you could celebrate yourself. So Fresno has such a culturally diverse demographics in general, but there really is so many things you can do and find here that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
So many different foods, so many different cultures, so many different types of music. You want to go to a hardcore show, you want to go to a rave, you want to go to see some bachata, like it's all here in Fresno.
Yeah.
And it's something that you don't have to look super hard for.
Absolutely.
And people here, like I said, they take pride in being from here and bringing the life to Fresno. So I think that's my favorite part about it. I said a lot of things, but
and they all work because especially in here, we're at the Sun Stereo Warehouse.
That's right.
We get a little bit of everything. You have Isla Tea down there. We have Barber Nova Salon, the women's
Aerial Art Studio, which
I
also do.
There we go.
Quick plug for downtown Aerial Arts.
Check it out.
Central Valley Sear.
Now, to bring us home with this, for those people that this may be their first time seeing you, hearing about your music, if there was one song, I hate to make you pick, but if you had to give someone, you're like, this is an absolute great introduction to who I am, to my music, what song would that be?
Love that question. And I would say it's my song Lies.
Lies,
and
okay.
I would say Lies is the easiest song to really get into. It's my favorite of all my songs, but I genuinely think it's my best song because it has everything. You can dance to it. It has a story. It's dark, but it's also very inviting at the same time. And it reminds me a lot of the music I listened to growing up. So if you could only listen to one for some reason, Lies would be my song.
There we go. So you've heard it here. It would be Lies out of the Mercy EP. Go check it out. It is on Apple and Spotify, so go stream it now. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be here and answer these questions. I know it's kind of diving into who you are, so I really thank you for that time.
Thank you so much. And you had really good questions.
Thank you.
I felt like I was able to not have to think so hard. So I really am grateful for this interview. So.
Of course. I feel like it gives me an opportunity to learn about you, and I love listening to kind of all the music that I probably haven't experienced.
Yes.
So that gave me definitely an insight, and you're going to be hearing me listen to Hail Mary and Craggley on the way home. So go check that. Those are my favorite, if you ask me. Those are the two. Go check those out. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.